As Gracia slowly regains her consciousness, she finds herself in an unfamiliar place accompanied by unfamiliar faces. She asks one of the women there, where is she? As far as she can recall, she fell asleep in the attic yesterday. She can't believe a kid like her is in a grand mansion like this. Overwhelmed by the situation, she tries to numb her senses, but that's when the woman covers the distance between them and refers to her as her child and as their lovely youngest daughter. She then offers her hand to her and requests her to take just one look at her mother. She sees they are noble and is utterly perplexed and finds herself thinking about the attic. The woman, while shedding tears, informs her that she doesn't have much time. She further adds that the first manifestation of the power is just for a moment. She slowly reaches for her hand while warning her that it will be very difficult now, but asks her to remember just one thing, that they will meet again soon. She assures them they are her family and they are those who will love her more than anyone. She is confused and recalls she has only lived doing only dirty work at the slums until yesterday. She thinks to herself a family is what she is better off without, but she still wonders what is this. She whispers if it's a dream, but the lady in red steps in, telling her it's not a dream. She tells her she will meet her soon. She also informs her Iani and Appa might harass her a lot, further adding they might make her a little upset. She would have to wait for just a little bit. She relays to her that there will be a time when Appa and Iani will love her more than anyone. That's when a tall man appears, attracting everyone's attention in the room. He puts his hand on Gracia's eyes, covering her vision, and without a warning scoots her in his arms and looks very pleased. People who claim to be her family are shocked at his sudden appearance, and the lady asks what is the person who needs to prepare his coronation doing there. She further complains they agreed on yielding the first manifestation to her family, but he ignores them, and as he is taking her they warn him not to show his face as she can't know much about the future. He believes how he can give up when he can see the childhood of the woman he loves. Upon arriving at his destination, he opens the window and helps her get settled and finally retract his hand. She slowly opens her eyes. That's when he tells her today is the day he becomes the emperor, and she becomes the empress. From the window she can view the city and the busy crowds with people who look more than pleased under their rule. He then asks how does it feel coming to the future. He then tells her she has made him the emperor and ended up making them love each other. He also reveals to her that when she goes back she will be faced with certain difficult moments. He also praises her for the things she accomplished and also warns her that those accomplishments will cause a fuss in the imperial palace as well, but tells her that still in the present and in the future she shall walk a great path, and that countless people shall gaze upon her with eyes filled with admiration, further adding that they would never doubt the path she would walk. He finally reveals that they would fall in love and be happy. He finds it strange to have her and happiness used in the same sentence, but dismisses it as she doesn't take him seriously, but wonders why does her heart feel so ticklish. He then informs her it's time. The golden light quickly surrounds her and she tries to look behind her to peek at him and inquire who he is. But he simply dismisses her, telling her he will see her in the future, and covers her face before she can see him, calling her his lovely Gracia. But then he remembers to tell her one last thing, that is to not learn chess, as the imperial father's invitation to her all the time to play is really annoying. When she opens her eyes, she is back at the attic. She wonders if it really was a dream, but then convinces herself that it was, as in no way it was reality. But she observes her heart is still beating fast, and she thinks about those people who called themselves her family. She wonders who they are, as she already has a family. That's when the door suddenly swings open, revealing a furious man, calling her mute and reminding her that he had ordered her to wash the clothes. He mutters to himself that he can't even sell her because she is too young. He then screams at her to move. Later she is near the pond and brings her knees to her chest and tries to appear small, as it's hard washing the clothes because her hands are cold, and no matter how much she washes them, the clothes don't get cleaner since she can't find soap in the slums. She then recalls what she thinks of as a dream and thinks it was such a pretty dream. She also realizes the people who told her they were her family looked very similar to each other, excluding one person, the one with purple eyes and black hair. She then compares to her current family where all have different hair and eye colors. She thinks mom and dad have brown eyes, the most common in the empire, while her older brothers have less common. That is blue, and she has purple eyes. She thinks about them as her real family for a moment, and her heart tickles from just recalling that dream, but she quickly snaps out of it as she reminds herself she will be dead if she doesn't do the laundry on time. For her, after the laundry comes cleaning and then preparing the meal, as she doesn't have the time to think about anything else, as she doesn't want to get hit by mom and dad too. That's when a man appears who seems excited to have found her. He then approaches her and greets her, calling her a mute. He notices that she really has blue eyes. He then leans in closer and asks her if she wants to hear something interesting. Gracia is scared and wonders what the backstreet gang's old man Bijan is doing here. He tells her that a few days ago there's something her dad told him while he was drunk, saying he killed a noble in the past or something. He asks her if she has ever seen a noble walking without guardian knights. He wonders how he has killed the noble man. As he thinks, how could a slum beggar kill a noble who learned swordsmanship from a young age, and why would a noble come to a slum town alone or something? He tells her he let it go from one year to another, thinking it was just a bluff, but then he heard something when he went to the abbey. He then shows her a magic crystal, telling her it's a low-level magic tool that he had stolen secretly in the past to survive in these harsh slums. He encourages her to touch it and check if she also has mana. He then looks deep in her purple eyes and wonders about the noble who has black hair and purple eyes. And it's the only one who is a great noble Luciple who are a generational mage family. He recalls the rumors he heard that fire and water come out of a mage's hands. He wonders how could water come out of someone's hand and think if they hide a water bottle. He encourages her to think hard while holding the marble. Gracia thinks to herself that what does she need to think about and wonders what's a mana. He becomes restless by the passing moments and tells her to just think hard. Suddenly an idea comes into his mind and asks Gracia what color does she want the marble to be. She wonders what color does she want the marble to be and then chooses the obvious. Thinking of the family, she says purple. He demands her to strongly imagine with all she has. The man is confused for a second and thinks if it all was just a bluff of a drunkard, but that's when suddenly the marble changes its color into purple. The man's eyes become wider with disbelief as his mouth drops open. His expression changes into that of victory as he believes he hit the jackpot. He starts dancing as he thinks he's finally done with all the suffering, while Gracia is confused and thinks how peculiar. It suddenly changed into the purple she was wishing for. She wonders if the old man is really upbeat because the marble being purple is prettier. The man says that he was doing all this without even knowing the treasure was next to him. Gracia remains still as a statue, confused. But the man then comes and kisses her on the head, claiming her to be his bundle of fortune, although his bundle of fortune got a wash up though. He then tells her to get all cleaned up today as he will be back. As he is leaving, he instructs her to not say anything to her family even after going home, and he will find her real family for her. Later at the table, a man tells her to take her stinky body out of here. When she remains still on the same spot, he asks her if she's ignoring him. She then goes back to the attic. She's hungry as she couldn't eat anything since yesterday, but she gave up because this is better than getting beat up. Later, when she peeks through the door and sees that it's quiet and all of them left, she comes out to clear the dishes. As she's clearing the dishes, the man appears through the window and calls for her. Startled, she lets out a yelp and the plate slips through her fingers, falling onto the floor. Tears fill her eyes as she believes she's dead now, but the man seems impatient and asks her to stop crying and come out, as he was held up by the guards for half a day because of her. After she's out, he tells her his story about how he went to see the guard but they just wouldn't believe him and he got locked up in jail, daring to scam by mentioning great noble, but Gracia isn't in her mind to listen to him and is scared, thinking she die when her family comes back later in the evening. The man tells her once again to stop crying and come out, and he was held up by the guards for half a day because of her. He further adds when she gets there, her real family will be there and they all have black hair and purple eyes, the same as her. With the description he gives her, she can't help but think of the people in her dream. Confused, he asks her what she is doing as she's making some drawings. He asks her if it's pictograms and tells her it won't help as she's making his head hurt when it's already difficult. And if she drew her family. He reminds her they're not her real family. She points at the man in the drawing, and then at her head. He asks her what does she mean, is she telling him that she's gonna shoot his head, and then he apologizes for being late as he said it wasn't intentional, but she desperately shakes her head. After repeating 3 times, he finally understands what she's trying to tell and is surprised how she's aware of that, because even he confirmed her after coming out of jail. He finally understands that she's trying to tell him that the Duchess has the same brown hair and brown eyes as him, while the Duke and the twin siblings have black hair and purple eyes as her. The man is shocked and wonders if she did it by magic, while she just thinks that the dream was correct. He then lifts his hand for her to take and asks if she's going to come with him. After a moment of hesitation, she finally takes his hand. He shakes it and tells her that they are allies from now on. He further adds that she is lucky and asks her to go and turn his life around. In the market, Gracia is so attracted by everything that she keeps gazing around. She thinks to herself this is her first time seeing this view. It's a totally different world from the slum. The man looks at her dressing and realizes she cannot be like this. If she looks like that, people will think she's a beggar and decide they need to buy somewhere. He then takes her to a place where she is given a bath. The woman asks her how can a small body be so dirty like this. The man notices Gracia after she has been cleaned and tells her that that's the reason why she doesn't clean herself. And the woman asks, if she's this pretty, why doesn't she clean herself? The man replies that her father knows why. He thinks to herself, no one has the guts to send a child of a noble to adoption. And if she's raised well, no one will think that she was a child from the slum. After that, he gives her a coat to wear. The man tells her that they could have just dragged her there by telling the thugs to do so. But there's no other reason that they have persuaded her to come here other than it will be a pain if word gets to the thugs and they start negotiating with Lucipolo. He warns her that anger the great noble and everyone will be massacred. He also asks her to make sure she says good stuff about him, and if she cannot talk, she can use her gestures. He then stops the carriage to go to Lucipolo Ducal. To their surprise, when they arrive there, they are surrounded by dozens of guards. One of the guards inquires, what brings him here? The man is alarmed and wonders why there are so many guards because last time there were only 2 or 3. He tells them, he's just an ordinary coachman and he's not related to them. The guard instructs him to get off. He tells the guard that he's here to meet the Duke, who replies that the Duke isn't someone anyone can just meet and asks if he can identify his class. The guard then notices Gracia behind him and suddenly he takes off her cloak and identifies her as Gracia to everyone there. He tells them that the woman was right and the man wonders which woman. Inside the mansion, they are sitting with the Duke, who has sober expressions. The man wonders that the Duke himself came while Gracia recognizes him as the man she saw in her dream. For some time Marcin silently observes Gracia, who is intimidated by him. She thinks to herself it's odd. He definitely is the man in her dreams, but he's much younger and his gaze is scarier. Marcin then orders one of the maids to bring it. They bring the crystal. The man encourages Gracia to do the same thing as before, as they have already done it earlier. She remains quiet and thinks that the last time was a mere coincidence. The man gets restless and tells her to hold it in her hand for a while. She keeps holding it, but nothing happens. He tells her to do the same thing like last time. Make it shine a purple light. At this point he is sweating and encouraging her that it's the same thing and nothing hard, but to his horror nothing happens. Marcin pinches the bridge of his nose and tells them it's enough. That's when it's announced that the Duchess has arrived. She glances at Gracia and asks the Dutch, is it the child? Gracia slowly opens her eyes as she recognizes the voice and finds the younger version of the woman who had called her beloved daughter and referred to herself as her mother. She recalls their promises about meeting soon, and they are her real family, the one who will love her more than anyone. Suddenly, the crystal changes its color into purple, leaving both the Dutch and Duchess speechless, while the man appears extremely excited, informing them that he had told them. And how could he dare to lie to the nobility that this child is the lady? Marcin is confused because the crystal only reacts to the Lucipolo bloodline. The Duchess offers Gracia to come and wait outside with her. The man is left alone with Marcin, who asks him if he wants him to say something while he is eager to know what the Duke is thinking. Suddenly Marcin gets up from his place and warns him that from now on he better not utter a single lie. He asks Gracia how old she is. She tells her Gracia should be 10 years old this year, but she looks much younger than 10 years old. She recalls her mother's throwing tantrum that she is sick of her. It's already been 10 years. She wants to tell her that she's 10 years old. She heard when they were fighting again about it this year. She shows all her fingers, indicating she is 10 years old. She tells her that strange as the former Grand Duke was tall. She further adds the same goes for the deceased Duchess. She is surprised that the former Duke and the former Duchess passed away, but wonders what does their height have to do with her. Must have noticed her confused expressions as she then reveals to Gracia that the former Duke is her father and the current Duke's older brother. She is surprised that the former Duke is her father because in her dream at the time, the Duchess said she was her mother. So what did she mean by that? She then asks her if she is hungry, but seeing that Gracia remains quiet, she asks for her name. She recalls how nobody has ever addressed her by her name. Notes the change in her behavior and tells her it's okay if she doesn't want to tell. She shakes her head, wanting to tell her that's really not true. Then asks how she has been without a name until now. She remains quiet, the worry apparent on Nee's face. With a gentle approach, she then asks her why doesn't she make her voice heard. On the other hand, the Duke is pissed because the man isn't getting to the point and just wasting time. When the Dutch insists him to get to the point, he simply says that he hasn't even said half of it yet. He makes an appearance, suddenly interrogating the man why doesn't the child speak, and ask her if the reason is she's shy. He is taken aback by the sudden question and realizes that he hasn't even told them about his family situation yet. The Duchess demands him to tell her the truth about what happened to the child. As he's trying to come with an answer, he looks at the Dutch and is intimidated by his expression. He tells them that she originally spoke, but at some point she stopped talking. He thinks the reason is probably the abuse in the girl's home. Gracia is waiting outside, wondering what they are talking about with the man and what would happen to her now. Suddenly, a man appears and tells her that it's been a long time, startling Gracia. He notices and apologizes for surprising her. He serves her tea and introduces himself as Jiladen, the former butler of Lucifero. He notices how she flinches, so he assures her it's different here, no one can touch her if she doesn't want to. He also tells her he knew her as soon as he saw her, as he still remembers vividly when Gracia was a newborn. He tells her she's still young, so he doesn't know how she will understand the story. But a week ago a masked woman came to the Lucifero mansion. The guards inquired who the hell was she, but she just gave them a pocket, although she looked suspicious, but they didn't feel any threat at all. No, rather this energy. Inside was a letter saying that Gracia, who disappeared with a man, will appear in a week accompanied with the previous head of the family's necklace. Jiladen tells Gracia sometimes he wonders why is he still alive when he couldn't protect his master and his little master, but he finally understands it now. He expresses his happiness that she could come back alive like this, as he still remembers the day the former duke passed away. He recalls how he was searching for him with his guards. When the guard came to inform him that they found the duke, he was led the way where he found that the duke had already passed away. So that night, when the duke and his newborn child Gracia went out together, the duke passed away and Miss Gracia went missing. He tells her he is sure she still has a hard time dealing with the story about the former, so he will keep his word short and realizes she must be hungry by now and leaves saying he will prepare some light refreshments for her. Gravely, a jaw drops when she sees the refreshments. The head maid Rosa personally comes and introduces herself, telling her she did not know what she would like, so she brought a bit more, and tells her their pastry chefs are the best in the world, so she doesn't have to worry about the taste. Jiladen tells her she doesn't have to be careful and she should take her time. The moment he says that, she starts eating carelessly, causing both of them to be surprised. Jiladen is worried she will have an upset stomach later and asks her if she has missed her meal. She shows her 2 fingers. He becomes worried and asks her that she has been starved for 2 meals. She shakes her head. He is physically taken aback by her answer when he realizes this. She is saying she has been starved for 2 days. The head maid excuses herself, saying she will bring some tea, while Jiladen stands there clenching his fist, apologetic to Duke. That's when they hear an uproar caused outside the room, and that's when the twins come. Diana asks who's that girl, and why isn't she answering. They notice she also has black hair and purple eyes. Gracia realizes those kids clearly are the ones in her dream. She recalls their words asking her to wait for them and that their sister and brother love her more than anyone else, and the moment will come soon. Diana screams at her, saying everyone had serious faces all week, so why doesn't she just tell them? She asks if she has black hair and purple eyes. Doesn't that mean she is Lucifero? Diana leads to the conclusion herself that she's the concubine's child. She thinks that their father cheated on them. That's when Gilardino intervenes, raising his voice at Diana. He tells her it is wrong to speak carelessly about others without knowing much about them. Diana defends herself, tears in her eyes, when she explains that the knights were gathering outside and Mom and Dad were also very angry. So she thought that was why Mom and Dad had a fight, but Jiladen seems unconvinced and tells her there has never been a day when he was more disappointed in her than today. Diana suddenly breaks down and sobs, saying, how could Jiladen do that to her? His brother notices her tears and blames it on Gracia. Diana also believes that is the reason Jiladen is angry at her. She suddenly declares that Gracia is their enemy from now on. Darzan also agrees with her sister, declaring their enmity in a harsh tone, leaving her all alone on her own. Jiladen is in the Duke's study. Marcin asks about the child. For a moment, Jiladen doesn't recognize who he's talking about, but then he realizes he is being careful, because the moment the Duke calls her by the name, Miss Gracia officially becomes the Princess of Lucifero. He informs him that they took her to the guest room in the mansion and she's carefully sleeping, and although nutritional status and basic tendencies were identified, but for everything else they would have to call a professional. Jiladen further adds that it's a mental problem. Marcin's lips are pressed in a thin line. He then asks what does the butler think. Jiladen inquires if he's asking about his opinion on whether she's Miss Gracia. He tells her that she looks so much like the previous Duchess and he is sure she is Miss Gracia, and although she is very small in stature, she's still growing, so she will be fine. The Duke releases a relieved sigh. He hands over a report to the butler and tells him it's a search through the slums to find people close to that family, and they were all captured and imprisoned in the annex dungeon. Jiladen says if the contents of the report here are true, if Miss Gracia had really experienced something like this, he believes Gracia is in good condition. Marcin inquires why. He tells her that the rejection of others and reaction towards unfamiliar situations are not that serious, although she has mutism, and is excessively startled by small things. But that is okay because if it's the level of abuse reported, it's normal that she wouldn't be able to make eye contact with people or anything. The Duke recalls when he went to the dungeon to confront the couple who raised Gracia. They lie that they worked so hard to raise her even in a poor environment, and they have never done that. He then shows them the necklace and asks if they're not aware about it too. He tells Jiladen that when he showed him his brother's necklace, he became thoughtful and denied it. Jiladen then asks if he knows what kind of necklace it is. Marchan replies he has 2 sons. When interrogated separately, one of them quickly said that his father had it recently. Jiladen believes now all the evidence is clear and Miss Gracia's identity is certain, but wonders what is the identity of the woman who gave the necklace. Jiladen asks still shouldn't they go to the temple. The Duke replies he will go and see. Marchan asks again, what does he mean by that? Jiladen explains for the time being he would like to have someone else help him with housekeeping. He doesn't plan to go, but he would like to help Miss Gracia for the time being. He understands and says that if the child needs anything more, he should tell him. Jiladen asks the Duke if he is all right. The Duke replies, it's almost been 10 years since he has been looking for the person who killed his brother, and his niece, who was thought to be dead, was there. She had been subjected to cruel abuse. There's no way he's going to be okay. He asks the butler to take care of the child. Gracia wakes up from her sleep and realizes she fell asleep without even knowing. She then recalls yesterday how Diana declared her to be their enemy. She becomes angry, thinking that she was so hated yesterday, but then she recalls how Diana had told her to wait for them and how she confessed that her sister and brother loves her more than anyone else, and the moment will come soon. She clenches the comforter tightly and convinces herself it's okay. She's confident in waiting because it's always been this way. As she's thinking about her sister and brother, that's when Jiladen comes and greets her. She is startled and brings the blanket up to her chin. He just smiles and says she must like the blanket. He then instructs the maids to come and the head maid also joins them and tells Gracia that they are here to teach her how to wash. She asks Gracia if she would like to dip her hand in it. Gracia silently dips her hands in the water and realizes that it's warm and remembers that the stream water was always cold. The head maid gives her a soap to use and tells her to foam it. She thinks that the soap is pretty and fragrant unlike the soap she knew which was black and had a sour smell, and that's why, no matter how much she washed her clothes they still smelled. The maid tells her she can stop now and expresses she's really glad that she liked what she prepared. But it's still too early to be happy as she still has a lot of ways to learn of Lucifero. Jiladen then informs Gracia it's a gift and if she has something to say, she can draw it out on paper and let him know. He then asks her if she enjoyed the class with Rosa. Gracia recalls all Rosa's teachings to not leave soap on the table, and she should eat with a fork with your left hand and a knife with the right hand. She should never pick up anything that has fallen on the floor. He then informs her after a while Ni will take her to the temple. She thinks about it. As for the temple, she has heard of it too, but she has ever seen the temple in person. She considers the temple a beautiful building that looks like an angel would come down at any moment, and she's very excited and unable to believe she's going there, and now she knows the Duchess' name which is Ni. As Jiladen is silently observing Gracia, he wishes for her to be patient as now she has returned so everything will be resolved. The doctor informs the Duchess that there are problems with malnutrition and stunting, but other than that her health is fine. However, it's not just physical issues that worry him. He assures her there's no problem with Gracia's safety. However, there is a situation where a warning light can be turned on. The Duchess asks what does that mean. He tells her that if a similar situation occurs when being abused, it means he doesn't know how Gracia will react. The Duchess thinks to herself that's right. People who have nothing to lose react differently from people who have a lot to lose. He further adds any words that may cause anxiety are prohibited. Gracia must not think that it's okay for her to lose her happiness. He also requests them to continue to ensure physical safety and emotional love. And if she starts to think that she might lose this happiness now, it's because obsession and desire arise. The Duchess is nervous as she doesn't know if she can do well in the first place, as it is difficult to raise children as whole people, especially if the child has a scar. Later, Gracia is dressed and Ni thinks it's a good thing she kept Diana's old clothes just in case, while Gracia is busy thinking it's her first time wearing such beautiful clothes and she thinks she might look awkward. She then tells her that the Duke is busy today, so the two of them will go to the temple. She takes her to the carriage and asks her to give one hand and hold the skirt with the other hand. When they are settled, Ni tells Gracia that as they go to the temple, she has to tell her a few things. First of all, it will be best to tell her why they are going to the temple. The imperial household and the house of Lucifero. The direct lineage of these two places can be confirmed at the temple. The reason is that because the power of God flows through the royal family of the Davemont Empire and the Duke of Lucifero family. Long time ago, the Davemont they lived in was neither a country nor an empire. There was a time it was a kingdom. Nathan Davemont, the king of the Davemont at the time and the great wizard who changed all the systems of magic. It is sad that Lucifer got married and gave birth to 2 children. The first inherited the crown prince title and became King Davemont. The second one became the head of the Lucifer family. After that, King Nathan and Queen Meyer gained power other than magic through God's blessing. That is why the power of God's currency flows through the Imperial family and the Lucifero family. In fact, she wonders if there will be one person in a few generations who can use their power. She's also going to check if the same divine power flows through her as well. In addition to that, the reason why the Lucifer family cannot acquire skills or attend government meetings is because of the power of God. It is the family that has absolute control over the empire, and even those of the same blood cannot ascend to the throne. Seeing her reaction, Nee suddenly realizes it must have been difficult for her to understand. She just tells her once confirmed, she will become Lucifero. She states she is no longer a child from the slums. She will become a princess from a great noble family. Gracia thinks to herself she's becoming a noble and it doesn't feel real, and she shouldn't have even dared to look at the nobles, but she didn't imagine becoming a noble. That's when the twins hidden in the carriage show up openly announcing they are against the idea of her becoming a Lucifero. Nee sighs and asks how they got in there. They tell her that's not important and they cannot accept she's becoming Lucifero. Diana says she followed along because she knew this would happen. Because Mom is so kind, it's obvious she will accept her. She asks them, do they know that they will become 12 years old this year? They remain quiet and then ask what is that? And more than that, why is she becoming their family? Gracia thinks to herself that if she's 12, that means she is 2 years older than her. Dana says she could never accept her. Nee thinks to herself she wasn't able to properly explain the situation to the kids. It was her fault. She tells her children to listen carefully and that the child is their real family, but she's not her daughter. The twins quickly say they knew it would be like that and they didn't think that would do that. She quickly corrects herself that it's not like that the child is the daughter of her uncle, their father's older brother and the previous head of the family, and she is their cousin. When they enter the temple they are welcomed by Rappel, the archbishop's acolyte. Nee tells him she is delighted to meet him too. He then notices Gracia who doesn't look well and asks if she has been in a somber mood. She simply replies there have been circumstances. She then inquires where they can find the archbishop. He guides them and tells her he has been expecting them. When they arrive at his chamber, Rappel informs the archbishop that the duchess has arrived. The door opens and they meet the archbishop who welcomes them. He tells them to take a seat as he has prepared some tea. The duchess informs him that the lady here is Gracia. She tells the reason for their arrival, that is to check if she possesses the power of God. He tells her he can discern with the naked eye that she's from the Lucifero lineage. The duchess dotes on her and says she certainly bears resemble. He tells her he can sense the distinctive aura, and there's a specific aura that has persisted within the Lucifero family for generations. She tells him she has heard that the former duke brought Gracia to the cathedral 10 years ago, and asks him, did he personally verify if she possessed the power of God at that time? He informs her unfortunately, he wasn't the archbishop then so he couldn't witness it himself. He believes it was 10 years ago so it should have been His Holiness, and after receiving the message, he informed the Pope but he considered it regrettable that he couldn't attend. She asks is that so? She thinks he is indeed cautious. The Pope must maintain neutrality at all times, leaving them with no options. He then says let's see if she has the power of God now. He then extends his hand and asks for her hand and assures her it will only take a moment. He starts performing the ritual and the Duchess is eager to know if Lady Gracia possesses the divine power of God. There's the golden light radiating from her. The Duchess and the archbishops are stunned. The Duchess talks to him seeing Gracia wielding the power of God as a Lucifero. She cannot deny her concern and asks him if he believes her powers have already manifested. He replies he won't know until they witness it themselves, but he believes so as she knows the twins had minimal power within them. In contrast, the lady's power envelops her and he's confident she is a divine power user. Diana notices Gracia is crying and wonders why she is crying again. Gracia can't help but think how the Duchess told her she was her mother. Now she realizes she wasn't her daughter after all. She thinks she was a bit confused at first but now she understands. She said she loved her but now she wonders if she's going to be alone again and she's scared. The power of God, the one who can use divine power. those born in the royal and Lucipolo families once in a few generations. The royal family hears about Gracia, they will inevitably be wary of it. On their way back in the carriage, the Duchess looks worried. Diana notices and asks her mother if she's not feeling well. She says she's fine and smiles at her, saying she was just lost in thought. She can't help but wonder if the former Duke knew about Gracia's power. If so, this might be related to his disappearance. Ni then notices Gracia doesn't look well and asks her if she's alright. She instructs her to lift her head for a moment. That's when they're suddenly attacked. Their guards immediately surround their carriage and order to seek help from the cathedral immediately, and pass the word to the ducal. The Duchess wonders about an attack out of the blue. She thinks the Holy Knights will arrive any minute. Until then, the Knights of Lucipolo can hold them off. She's already holding tightly onto her children, but then she notices Gracia is in shock, sitting all alone on the seat. She is reminded of her abuse, the scenario going on in her mind. The next moment she is held tightly by the Duchess, who asks her to calm down and look at her. Ni tells her no matter how frightening it is, she can overcome it. She promises that the Knights of Lucipolo will protect her and asks her to take a deep breath. That's when one of the guards comes and says they have to exit the carriage immediately. She doesn't understand and asks what does he mean, as outside is more dangerous. Just in the next moment an explosion goes off. The carriage is burned down completely. The Duchess is shocked. Had she been even 1 second late, her children and she would have died. The guards who are fighting instruct them to get out of here as quickly as possible. Ni instructs her children to grab Gracia's hand and run, but they are reluctant, saying they can use magic and they want to help. Darzan cries out aloud, saying she cannot use magic and they need to protect her. Ni notices how Gracia is shaking. She pats on her head and says if only they had more time together. One of the guards commands everyone to protect Miss Ni and the children just as another explosion goes off, which causes the deaths of all the guards. As the result of the explosion, the Duchess has gotten injured as well. She is holding tightly to her children and notices Gracia isn't anywhere near her. She calls out her name and that's when she notices a guy who is in the cloak. She recognizes he is a mage and that they need to get out of here. The Duchess shouts at Gracia to get away and get out from here. She warns her to run away quickly and as fast as she can. But Gracia is determined to get as close to her as possible. The twins say in union that they can protect their mother. The mage eyes land on Gracia and he asks her if she is the divine power user. The Duchess is shocked that he knows that Gracia is the divine power user. The mage decides he needs to get rid of the Duchess first. The mage uses his power while the twins also stand in front of their mother screaming at her children to get out of here, but they are determined to not leave her. They form their own barrier with their magic. The mage says he doesn't need her and the twins. Ni whispers run for Gracia to hear. She refers to her as her child and asks her to run. That's when the golden light comes radiating from somewhere as well as the twins. There is a girl with black hair and purple eyes who looks lovingly at Ni, telling her as expected it was today, not tomorrow. The older Diana tells her she wrote down the things she will tell her tomorrow. Gracia is surprised to see the older Diana, but Diana is freaking out as she realizes the day was today, not tomorrow. She asks what she should do now, what she should start with. As her divine power summoned Tia, who's 10 years in the future because there can't be the same person in the same timeline. She tells her that's how the young Gracia came to the future. She is stressed because not many minutes are left and Gracia shouldn't talk about what she saw in the future as it will change the past and affect the future and her body will have to bear that casualty. Gracia realizes she is 10 years in the future. Diana warns her she shouldn't say anything that doesn't change in the future. She shouldn't just say anything at all, as she will be able to distinguish them anyway. That's when the Duchess comes running with Gladen on his heels. She hugs the younger Gracia tightly and tells her there are so many things she wanted to say to her when she was 10 years old. First, she apologizes that she didn't know how she felt, that she didn't know about her that much back then and she needed to be more prepared as a mother. She tells her name is Gracia, her youngest daughter she loves the most in the world. The older Gracia confronts the mage and asks him if there's only one mage as Dad was supposed to tell her today. The match wonder who is she and where did the kid go. He threatens her that before she speaks nonsense she should take care of her life and launches an attack on her. She recites something and his magic is suddenly nullified. She again recites something, causing his eyes to go blind and he's unable to see anything. He wonders what's happening. He has the magic resistance tool. The Duchess is surprised as well, as she's doing magic without even a shake of mana. The mage threatens that her magic will disappear when he will kill her, but she lets him know she's aware he has carved the magic in his bracelet. He attacks her with his sword and she uses one of her own to fight him. She ends up cutting off his mana circulation and tells him to not do anything foolish as the Lucipolo reinforcements have arrived. After he's being dealt with by the guards, she finally sighs in relief. She then turns around and sees her siblings and suddenly takes them in her arms. She tells them they are the best in the world as they were brave enough to protect their mother. Diana is blushing red and says that's a must. She then refers to the Duchess as mother and embraces her tightly, tears running down her face as she tells her to not get hurt and promises her she will always protect her. She uses her power to heal Nee's leg and tells her the first aid is done for now, but she shouldn't overdo it. The Duchess thanks her. She simply smiles at her mother and tells her that her divine powers brought her from 10 years in the future. The Duchess is confused, but she assures her that after some time everything will return back to normal. The young her is 10 years in the future right now, so she shouldn't worry as she never loses. The Duke is sitting with his men saying that even if the Archbishop leaked information of the divine power user, it's hard to say they prepared the attack right away. The major problem is that the schedule of visiting the cathedral was leaked, and for them to be prepared this quickly, it can only mean they have known about this at least a few days ago or 10 years ago. The answer with the highest odds is down to 1. 10 years ago, his brother took Gracia to the cathedral and definitely confirmed she was a divine power user. Then that means this case suspect is. The other man completes his sentence by saying the ones who seek power by getting hold of the divine power user should be the suspects. Ones who knew about the previous Duke and planned the attack beforehand. The ones who are able to get the information from the Pope, who was an archbishop at the time. The one who needed the power of the divine power user the most is none other than the prince. The Duke raises his hand, saying the commentator and Jiladen should search for the spies in the Lucipolo estate. The Duke believes it's dangerous to trail anyone without evidence. All he can do now is regard them as major suspects and doubt. He then inquires what are the results from interrogating the attacker. One of the men replies there wasn't much luck as they're not opening their mouths. Seeing their numbers, they are not likely to spill it out. The Duke grits his teeth as he realizes it's challenging. As he expected, the one they called father back in the slums, they didn't get much from him either. Just a thief who robbed the pockets of a dying noble. How absurd to hear that he didn't even have the guts to kidnap the baby and abuse her instead after taking her in. The other man tells him that currently the royal family has 3 princesses and 6 princes, so a power to see the future in a time where everyone is fighting for power. The Duke says he's worried about the child, even if she's the 20-year-old Gracia, not hesitating to slash an enemy's arm. That means she has gone through similar situations. He then concludes today's meeting for now. He thinks he just wished for his brother's child to live a decent life and wonders how many hardships lie ahead for his child. Later, Gladen is teaching Gracia. Heard the vocal cords are important too, but the location of her tongue is crucial, telling her how to pronounce correctly. He tells her that will be enough for today's speaking session. They are concluding this now to share something even more significant, and that is the story about the royal family and Lucipolos. The previous Duke, Lady Gracia's father, possessed extraordinary magic skills reminiscent of the Grand Maze's descendants. He became the youngest commander of the Royal Magic Knights at the age of 30. Gladon also states that even though this is a secret that Duke Marcel truthfully dreamed of being jobless, he could not delve into politics, nor engage in business or any related matters after all. He merely desired to live with his beloved and precious family. Gracia ponders not being able to do anything else. It's because the Lucipolo family differs from other noble families. They do not only carry royal blood in their veins, but also possess divine power, so they must not seize power, because he can target the prince. Gladon mentions she is correct and finds Gracia clever as expected. One more thing is that the Lucipolos are sworn allies of the royal family, regardless of any opposition from the nobles against the royal family's plan. The Lucipolo will always stand by their side. Gracia asks what about the emperor, the princes? Gladon mentions what a keen question. Regarding the princes supporting the royal family, it may be true or false. When opinions within the royal family members diverge, the priority is the will of the emperor. In such cases, Lucipolo has the right to not support anyone. By this law, Lucipolo is prohibited from interviewing in the current conflict among the princes. Arosa pardons the interruption. Gladon questions what is it. She responds that the emperor has ordered all of the direct descendants of Lucipolo to enter the palace. Gladon has an uneasy look on his face. Gracia is sitting with her uncle Marcel, who asks her so she cannot talk about the future, and she does not know at what cost. She remains silent as he responds he sees. He continues that until now, the cost of using that ability has mostly affected the user's body. For those significantly impacted by casualty, some lost their voices or even an arm. She ponders crap. He continues that of course, if the cost is so much high, either you save someone's life, or you will have to stop time for an entire day. Honestly, avoiding the use of that ability is not that steep. Gracia ponders if she can save those precious to her, she'll gladly lose an arm. Marcel states that if that's the price, even the royal family cannot bring significant changes. If Gracia cannot tell anything about the future she is in 10 years after from now, the Emperor's interest will wane. He asks her that for now they should prepare to greet the Emperor. He stands up as he continues, this is better. It could be more dangerous for her to explain the ability she possesses when all the royal family members are gathering. He asks her to quickly get prepared. She bows down and smiles as he also gently smiles. Her Duchess calls her lovely as Gracia is getting ready. She mentions that she looks like a doll with that hat and cape and it suits her very well. She questions, does she look like her Unnai? Her Duchess responds, of course she does. She asks if Gracia wishes to look like her Unnai. Grady responds, it is because Unnai is pretty. They have the same hair color and eye color. The Duchess smiles. Later when she arrives at the palace she will not only meet the Highness but other royalty as well. The Empress, Empress Dowager, the princes, and the princesses, all of them will be present. She knows she must not be overly astonished. Diana tells her that she still does not like her and she should not think that with her sudden appearance everyone will shower her with love since it has only been a while. The Duchess yells at Diana and asks her to stop, and it is enough. Her Duchess continues that if Diana keeps saying hurtful things to Gracia she will not be patient anymore, causing Diana to become sad. In the carriage Uncle Marcel calls out to Gracia and tells her that it may be that His Highness the Emperor may ask her demonstrate how she uses the ability. He questions if she can do it if she were asked. She responds yes, she can do it. He pats her on the head and responds very well then. It is announced that the Duke and the Duchess of Lucipolo along with their direct descendants and Lady Gracia Lucipolo have arrived. She is stunned to see how beautiful it is. Duke Marcel greets His Majesty the Emperor of the Dabamont Empire, Barondian Dabamont. All the nobles are present as Gracia seems a bit anxious. The Emperor asks Duke Marcel to raise his head. He questions, so that child is Gracia Lucipolo. Her Duchess responds yes, His Majesty. He asks Gracia to come closer as her Duchess looks at her happily, causing Gracia to be less anxious. She approaches him as His Majesty questions if Gracia could explain her ability slowly. Gracia stares towards the Emperor. She is unable to respond, causing her Duchess to worry. His Emperor calls out to her again and commands her to answer him. The nobles also waits for her answer, but she covers her mouth because of getting hiccups, unable to respond. His Emperor laughs as he calls out to Duke Lucipolo and commands him to respond in her place. Duke Lucipolo apologizes and states that he thinks Gracia's mind and body are still unstable because of her being attacked by a suspicious man. Her Duchess tells Gracia that it is all right, but Gracia is filled with anxiety, causing her to get teary-eyed. She ponders that she looks like a fool to say that she could do it. She clenches her fist as she thinks if she brings her 10 years in the future self, will she be able to? Duke Lucipolo apologizes and states he will explain it on her behalf. Her Duchess asks if Gracia's hiccups are better now. She thinks that she wishes to be strong so she can protect Sir Duke, mom, sister and brother. She wants to protect everyone. Suddenly lights fill the whole hall. Light is emitting from her whole body, causing everyone to be stunned. Gracia is in her new self as His Emperor looks at her continuously. She greets His Emperor as she mentions that she, the lady of the Lucipolo family, the youngest of the royal magic knights. Gracia Lucipolo greets His Majesty, the Emperor. The young Gracia opens her eyes as she finds herself in a new place. She has company as the person greets her. It's His Emperor as he asks if she has learned something about chess from this old man. He is referring to himself. Back in the present, the nobles are shocked to see such a thing happen right in front of their eyes as they converse. She steps towards His Majesty as he laughs and mentions the ability to summon her 10 years in the future self. He asks if she is a royal magic knight, is at the core under him. He continues that to be able to see the future of such a loyal and promising person like this, it's truly an authority of God. He mentions that since young Gracia seems to have left the spot as she is shy, he shall ask Dame about her ability. She responds that it's the ability to summon herself from 10 years in the future. The trigger to his ability is the will to protect her precious ones and reverse time for her future and present selves. His Emperor questions every use of divine power comes at a cost. What is the cost of using this ability? She tells him that hers is without a cost. However, she is not allowed to reveal the future. He asks not to be allowed to reveal the future. She states that if she comes to the past and reveal future events, the past could possibly be twisted. That principle of casualty will definitely affect her, and the price is physical pain. His Emperor states that if it is physical pain then the price is not high. She tells him, however, the cost is not certain. So far, when she used the ability, she only revealed trivial information with almost no impact on the future. She tells him if its price is physical pain, and the information required could significantly change the future, then she cannot fulfill such demands. His emperor mentions that he sees. He asks then her being a royal magic knight and all that, is that future information? She tells him it is indeed information from the future and states it is alright to reveal the future that cannot be altered. Even with revealing information, she is confident the future will not change. A woman with red hair ponders her name. His emperor states that he is not sure about the others, but that is good news to him. She asks may she say one more thing. He tells her to speak. She tells him soon she will be able to defeat his emperor in chess. She wishes to tell him to firmly hold up to the ace up his sleeve. All the nobles are shocked after hearing that.